Hello, I'm Ciaran Doran and welcome to A Table for Four. This is an opportunity with three people to look at some tips in sustainable crafting. Today we are going to be bringing on the bling. I'm going to be sharing some of my tips and tricks, joined by my lovely guests, and we're all going to have a go at making something, 3 different items. So before we start, I'd just love you to give a really nice big warm welcome to our lovely guests. So here we are, welcome to A Table for Four. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Val, I'm from Poland. I have been living here for 12 years now. When my dad moved over for work, I love any sort of arts and crafts and upcycling and mending.
Oh, that's what we love to hear. That's what this programme is all about. Moving on to you, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Aoifhe, I'm 24 and I'm a sustainable fashion designer from Derry. So I basically take nothing and make it into something. So my main part of my practice is upcycling.
Fantastic. And how long have you been out of university?
I've been out of university a year now, so it's been really busy trying to find your feet.
And we'll hear a little bit more about your career as we move on. But thank you so much for coming in. Lovely to meet you. Would you like to give me your name?
My name is James and I am 28 years old. I've been studying fashion and textile and art and design for about 7 years now.
Wow.
And I just completed a placement in Budapest studying for a year, and then I worked at Cosy, a high-end Hungarian designer, over the summer.
That is fantastic. That's a long while to be studying fashion. You must be really passionate about it.
I like a slow burn.
A slow burn. And have you found it really interesting, the kind of fascination there is with upcycling at the moment? It's become quite mainstream, quite relevant as well.
Quite definitely, yeah, because there's centuries of people working with what they had, and it's only recently fast fashion, as of the 80s, has become this popular, and now people are starting to realise its effects.
So what we're going to do is we're going to move on and make a start in the workshop. So James, Aoifhe and Val, thank you very much for coming in and joining us today. What I've done is I bought my Pirates of the Caribbean treasure chest of bling, really, that's what you can call it. Over the years, you were talking about the 80s, I was a new romantic, so you can forgive me for some of the collection that I have here. You're not going to try and change something dramatically. You can take pieces from one thing and add them to something else, not doing complete makeovers. In the time we have, we're going to see what we can do. So what I've done is I made a selection earlier on today, and I'm just going to share that with you. It's a tray here, and I'm just going to go through the pieces that I've got. I've just got a feeling which ones you might go for. Who doesn't love a really lovely pearl necklace? Lots of pieces in that you can use. So I thought that would make a perfect brooch. But James, I saw you had your eye prints on that. So if you want to deconstruct that, we've got all the kits and everything to do so. You just need a good snips and some thin needles. I've also got one of my favourite jewellers back in the 80s that's still going strong. They used to do really ornate brooches, and this is one of them. That's the type of thing I'm looking at, but please, you can be guided by your own instinct because you are creatives. This bracelet, now, it's had its day. It's part of the project. For me, there was a very famous designer, the company is no longer exist, called Tatty Divine. And I remember going to her workshop over 25 years ago with my niece, who was about 10. She used to use the humble kilt pin. Vivienne Westwood also used this. So that's a great option for a quick activity to add some bits to that. We've also got, now Val, I'm not leaving you out of the equation. As soon as I met you, I immediately thought, I wonder if you'd choose that. You quite like the look of that. To me, that would be beautiful, added on with nylon to a headband or added onto a neck piece for a choker. There's also a lovely area just here which is tailor-made for putting a brooch for men or women. I have a piece of jewellery here that is jet, and jet was historically often worn by Victorian women during their period of mourning. They would have worn jet on a choker, earrings, bracelet or necklace. And a way that you can check that it is real jet, apparently, if you hold the bead up to this bit of your lip here, if it's warm, it's real jet. If it's cold, it's plastic. So that is jet. Now, that is, to me, what this project is about. Taking some, I'm not saying this was worn by my Victorian great-grandmother. I scour the charity shops, probably a little bit like everybody at the moment. you possibly looking for trimmings, you looking for inspiration, and I think you actually wear what you find as well. Yeah. So also got some other lovely bits here, but that little jewellery box there is full of pieces. I've also got here, and I think you quite like the idea of this, looking at the humble headband. Headbands turned into bandanas, bandanas turned into something a little bit more exotic, but the headband is having a bit of a resurgence. So what I'd like you to do is maybe have a little think, have a chat, collab amongst yourself. You might want to share some items, you might even work on a piece as well. Please feel free to make a start. And as we're working away, I'm going to have a chat to you about, I'd love to hear more about your time in Budapest. Your time, I believe there's a little bit of a background to you that we'll find out later. I would love to hear about how you like living here. So if we'd like to make a start, and I can pass you anything you need and just tell me what you'd like. James, have you got anything you'd like? Or
could I possibly take the little dangly charm
yeah, of course, I'll
paper
let
clip
you.
and the kilt pin?
And the kilt pin. I'm really glad to see the kilt pin. Now, just a little piece to anybody who might be interested in these. The humble kilt pin, I think it's a forgotten icon. It's really useful. I bought a tweed coat in a charity shop in the Lisbon Road. I bought it for the tweed, but it's absolutely massive. So I just cinch it together with a big kilt pin. And you can use them vertically, but also horizontally. And I think it's a kind of slightly more sculptural than a safety pin. We've done safety pins, I think. We're not going to go punk, even though punk in its way was quite iconic. Do you like the punk era for clothes and jewellery?
I think it's a very interesting style. I have a couple of friends that are punk. I personally don't wear it because it's just not it's not my style.
Aoifhe, over to you. What do you fancy?
I think I need that hairband.
You do need the hairband. What I'll do is I'll let you actually, I was literally, just for display purposes, playing around with this today. I've had this for a long while. It's a garland that comes out every year at Christmas, but every year it seems to get shorter and shorter and shorter. But I decided this year to keep all the bits, and I was inspired when I saw the coronation. There was a lady holding a mace, and she had this beautiful headband that looked Elizabethan. It was covered in beads, and then this beautiful wire piece. So the fact that you've thought along the same lines, please, that's my pleasure that you take that. If any of you watching this would be interested in upcycling, a really good thing to start with is take a simple bracelet, just disassemble it and put it back together just to see what the technique is like. And it's quite simple. Okay. Val, moving on to you. What are you thinking of making?
A choker. I want to put a wee clasp on one end and the other end.
Lovely.
And put some of these. I want to put some of this jet, take this apart and put these lovely little beads onto this bit of fabric.
Fabulous. What you could do, instead of doing a clasp, is work in the middle, keep your ends long. If you tie it, you've got more flexibility with whether you want it as a choker, a neck piece, or even a pendant. I quite like a pendant because it kind of elongates the neck. So anything that helps it look a bit longer. So a pendant is a really nice thing. So clasps are great. Take some clasps with you, but I would keep it long so that you've got a chance. The thing you want with this jet is to see the bling and let it jingle. I also saw this piece. This is for anybody who'd like to use it, but I was looking at that. That would make a gorgeous hair accessory. It could make a nice brooch to go on that bit there. So, shall we bring on the bling?
Yeah,
Let's get
100%.
started. Okay. I'm going to start with Val. Val, what do you think you'd need? Just a needle and thread?
And maybe getting something to get the actual gems off of this.
Okay, what I'm going to do is use that to drop everything into and start where there seems an obvious join. And just remember, if you're going to be re-sewing it, leave yourself something to sew it onto. And so just drop your beads into there, and I'll just get you a needle and thread. I'm sure this happens to you all at home when you're working. The things you need are not at hand. I'm going to give you your own little spool of thread, so you can also take this home with you to work on your piece. And just unwrap that. There's nothing like a new spool of thread, is there? There you go. And there are very fine jewellery needles in here, but for what you're doing for now, for sewing this, I would just use your chenille needle. which is, it's a really good tip to know. It's a short needle, a really big eye, but it's got a nice fine point, because the thickest wool you'll probably ever sew with is chenille, and it will go through that. So I'm going to move on to you. What would you like now?
I would love a pair of scissors.
Pair of scissors. So
Scissor happy.
I'm going to give you a really, these are the best scissors.
Lovely.
There's a fabric only as well, so you can take those.
Thank you.
As well.
That's great.
So what are you thinking of doing?
So I'm thinking of making a headpiece, kind of like maybe for the races or something like that. So I'm thinking making like ruched flowers out of denim, and maybe
fabulous.
matching it with the velvet, and
That would be
then
gorgeous.
maybe a wee bit of gold and a bit of pearls, just
Beautiful.
to bling it up.
Absolutely bling it up. That's beautiful. So you've got Polly.
Love
Are you
her.
okay with Polly?
Thank you.
And you can work away with her. So you've got everything you need, and I think you will be more than well equipped to work with the very fine needles. We've got needle threaders here if you need them. I love this.
I should be okay.
It's lovely to disseminate something and think what you're going to use it for. So you're happy, you've got everything you need. Just be careful with the big scissors, have to say that. And if you need any of this other denim, all the denim I use is re-loved and pre-loved. James, what about you? What do you fancy making?
So I'm going to make a version of a brooch.
Okay.
So I'm going to use the kilt pin as the base, and then there is this lovely necklace bracelet that you gave me, and then there's another piece here that I might incorporate, but I'm not sure.
I call that the Liz Taylor necklace.
The Liz
There was
Taylor
a very
necklace.
famous piece of jewellery. I don't know if people are aware of the love story between Liz Taylor and Richard Burton. They fell in love on the set of making Cleopatra, the film. He bought her one of the most expensive diamonds ever in the world. And it's not like that, but it has that kind of impact. So I'm really happy that you've taken that. Also, what remains on that then will still be a necklace that can be used for something else. So you can also take that with you and some pieces. The whole idea of this project is today you'll go home with a piece, you'll show it to us, but you'll also take some pieces home with you. You've got a goodie bag, all about a table for four, and with your pieces of jewellery. So what pieces of equipment do you need? Do you need the snips?
Could I have the needle, no snips?
Help yourself from that. What we have got in there, the awl, I don't think we'll need that. So for those of you who want to look at the kit we have, this is a really simple little kit that I put together. You can buy expensive jewellery kits, but all I need is the tweezers and some pliers that are specific for jewellery. I shall pass that over to you, okay? And if there's anything else you need, let me know. Do you need needle and thread?
I'd love a needle and thread.
What colour thread would you like? Or do you want to use embroidery thread? How about some
Yeah.
nice floss? I've got a lovely selection, the whole spectrum of the rainbow here. The choice is yours, so have a little look through that.
Thank you.
So how are you getting on there? Do you want me to sew this, make a start on sewing this for you in half while you're sewing, just to give yourself plenty of time? Or I could pin that for you. How about that?
Yeah, please, thank you.
These are not glass headed, these are plastic pins. They're just so easy to see, and it means that you are not looking around trying to find pins if you've dropped them. So what we're going to do on this one is I'm just going to put a couple of holding pins in for Val. So Val, when you're not working, what type of crafting do you like to do, and what type of jewellery do you like?
I paint a lot. Mostly that's the sort of artistic activity I get up to in my free time, painting and drawing. But I love just kind of scrapbooking maybe. That's a very fun activity. My stepmother sells, actually she sells like photo albums in the style of scrapbooking.
Oh, it's really caught on. It's become a very mindful activity.
Yeah, she gets like personalized requests for books, for
lovely?
photo book albums.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I do a little bit of that sometimes, and it's very fun. I do enjoy it. But
Yeah.
any sort of crafts, I just love making.
That's brilliant. So we were talking a little bit about punk there. I suppose I can remember it. 1977 was the birth of punk, and I was kind of about 16, I think. And that's when all my fashion mistakes were made. You would have been really, you would have found it quite amusing. But I think it was when you're young, the rules are there are no rules to creativity. What I'm just doing here, sorry to interrupt you, is just starting you off just to give you a bit of a head start.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So just remember I would start off sewing your big bits on to get your structure, and like lots of things creatively, odd numbers work really well. So maybe start off with a centerpiece and then work outwards. So 5 is a really nice number. So I'm just going to do some running stitch in here.
Oh, how about this for a centerpiece in the middle?
That would be beautiful. So what you do is just take that off really carefully. But if you want me to cut that for you, I can. I'm just doing a running stitch, and running stitch is your best friend when you're doing something like this. You literally are running your needle through the fabric and pulling the thread with you as you go. It's not back stitch where you go back along your stitch and it's continuous. If you want to get a ruching effect, you basically do your running stitch and you just pull it really tightly, and that's how I created this little ruffle. So I just overlaid fabric and then just pulled it through. So I'm just going to see if does anybody in the audience have a question?
Yes, I do.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Kate.
Hi Kate, lovely to see you.
I would love to get into sewing, so
Yeah.
I'm an absolute beginner. So does anyone have any tips on where to start?
What I advise people to do is get together with maybe a friend or somebody who has an interest or knowledge of sewing, and maybe go along with 2 other friends. Just take it maybe at a coffee table, moving on to the kitchen table, moving on to the dining room table, or here into the she shed, as we call this, and just start off really simply. I think it's really important to find what you like doing. So I like to take a project, give it a theme, and explore within that theme. So if it's make, do and mend, maybe choose that as a starter. You're wearing a lovely pair of dungarees. Why don't you think, right, I'm going to go to the kilo sale, buy some t-shirts that have got logos on, boil wash them when you get home, and make sure there's no moss on them. Then cut the logos off, iron on some self-adhesive backing. But I'm very happy to talk to you after the programme about how to actually do that. So it's great that you're here today. I hope it inspires you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Val, thank you very much for letting me hear your kind of creative story and journey. And I think in your profession, you must come across a lot of people every day wearing different things. Does that inspire you as well?
Yes, I love seeing people all dressed in different styles and different fashions. It's very interesting to look at what different people wear and how they act and how they treat everyone as well.
Yeah, I think people watching is an art, because you have to get that fine line between observing and freaking people out. People have approached me to say something and you immediately think somebody's trying to sell you something. Put it off for you so you can carry on. There's a bit of a boo-boo there. So what I would do is use that as your back and we can trim that off later. So I've gone halfway for you.
No problem. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about your background. I believe you've been on some programmes before, haven't you?
So in the summertime, I recently won BBC One's A Stitch Free Time.
I think that deserves a round of applause. That is incredible. Well done.
So it was all about Ulster's rich textile history that we have here. So every week we had a brief where we had to create an outfit in 6 hours, an outfit in 90 minutes as well. So it was a learning curve. No pressure. That's probably why I'm working so quick today, even though there's no panic. But a brilliant show, and it's great to see that there is such a rich textile history here that's probably forgot about now that we have the likes of fast fashion and stuff like that. Like just in Belfast there, you've got the linen mill, and like our brief was inspired by like Amber Cracking and running that linen mill, and up in Sia Mills as well in Strabane, closer to where I'd be from. So it was very interesting, and you always think upcycling is this new thing that everyone thinks they have to do now because there's such a problem with textile waste. But that's been going on for years. Like in my final collection, it was all about waste to wardrobes. It was how we could take things that are going in the landfill and create something new and give it a new story. So I found a parachute on eBay, and you forget that parachutes are actually real silk. You know, the vintage
They would
ones.
have made wedding dresses out of them in the Second World War, which would have been the biggest find. If somebody had been, an airman had been shot down, they would steal the silk
The
and
win.
make not just a wedding dress, but also underwear,
Yeah.
petticoats and French knickers and bras and everything like
That's
that.
crazy.
So you found a parachute.
Aye.
Well done.
And I was thinking, who would be wanting a parachute? So I got it for like £50. So I got something like 24 foot of fabric that's real silk for £50, and created a wedding dress from it. But you know, a lot of people thought, oh my god, that's mad, you made a wedding dress out of a parachute. But no, it's something that's been on for a long time.
During the Second World War, parachute silk was something that would have been sold on the black market along with nylon stockings. When the Americans came over, they not only brought help to support Northern Ireland during the Second World War, but they bought chewing gum and they bought nylons. So there was a great interest. Congratulations about
Thank
that
you.
programme. And have you had a chance to wear the wedding dress yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, not
Don't
yet.
know if
Plenty of
that's
time
yet,
for that. But you know, we are talking about different eras where linen, lace, silk were textiles that were sacred, that were so beautiful. Like my mother had a bottom drawer, which traditionally would have been a drawer that was added to from about the age that you were eligible to get married. Your mother would start saving things for you. So when my mother died, there were 6 unfinished embroideries pieces during every pregnancy. She started an embroidery and didn't finish them. So I have those, but I would never do anything with them. They tell a story. Thank you so much. I'm just going to see, Val, are you getting on okay there?
Yeah.
And perhaps you might want to start maybe sewing in your centrepiece. I can give you a hand with that in a moment if you want. So James, over to you. I don't want to interrupt your creation, but it's looking marvellous already. Let's have a little peep.
So what I've done is I broke up the chain of the necklace
Oh my
and I just
gosh,
added a
that is
couple
fabulous.
pins on there, so kind of droplets that would hang alongside it from the existing clasps.
Beautiful.
So they will hopefully kind of click on there,
Do you
just
know
to
what
add a
that
bit of
reminds
like
me of?
movement.
You know, when an Edwardian gentleman would have a pocket watch on a beautiful chain. So James, tell me a little bit about your creative journey. It sounds really fascinating, especially your time abroad.
I took an interest in art and design and fashion many years ago because during school I went down the route of IT and I went on to do a course in computer coding, and I thought, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And I went and did a GCSE in art and design with Belfast Metropolitan College. And then I was like, oh, I quite enjoy this. So then I went on to Ulster University, where I started my degree in 2020 during COVID. It was very strange times. We had like quite condensed workshops and then nice open times. So I did my first 2 years of that, and then I took part in the last year of the Erasmus programme. Went over to Budapest and studied at MoMA University. And I studied fashion and knitwear, and I made some really fun, interesting stuff. And after that, I did leather and printmaking.
It's really lovely to see what people make apart from here because it connects your creativity and it's really inspiring. How are you getting on there?
I am just sewing up this wee end here, so I'll snip it off here and this will be my end, and I'll also sew up the other end.
Okay. What I would do is don't cut your ends just yet. Keep them until you're definite about your height, and then what I would do is, I think you could probably just sew that on, couldn't you?
Yeah, I can sew that.
Val has very kindly saved all the little, what I would call the bits of detritus. Now, I see your vision. I actually can really see it. Would you like a different thread, like a red embroidery thread or something?
No, I think I want to keep this black.
You keep it black. Okay. James, we're in Belfast, but take me to Budapest. What was that like? Was it an amazing experience?
Well, I first went over, and the first week, I spent the whole time craning my neck because everything is just enormous in scale and grandeur and detail, because of like their massive like Gothic revival. Like they're very well known for their architecture. I actually ended up renting an apartment in the city centre, and it was beautiful, parquet floorings, nice ceilings, cheaper than anything you would get in Belfast, so that's even better. Yeah.
And it was gorge.
And then I went and I spoke to the woman, and the woman who owned the apartment is a graduate of the university that I studied at. And she would outfit like high-end retail stores, like luxury retail stores.
And was she a stylist or a visual merchandiser?
Visual merchandiser and like setist, like opening the new store, making sure everything goes in the right place. So it was quite interesting.
So
Small
you were
world
in the
again.
hub of international fashion. Just going to see how Val's getting. Oh, Val, that's looking fabulous.
The
That is-
gem fell out. I'm going to need some glue for it.
Yeah. Well, don't worry about that. In fact, let me see what it's like without it. Oh, I think it adds a bit of a feature not having it.
Yeah,
But if you would, I think it'd be quite difficult to maybe stick that back in. What you'd probably have to do would be stick a little bit of black fabric onto the back of the brooch and then kind of then set that in. That's probably the best way, but we could do that after you've put all that together. It's absolutely lovely. I don't want to take up too much of your time as you're finishing off, but she's facing out, looking at the audience. So what are you doing now? You're just adding a few finishing touches.
Adding a few more beads because I really concentrated in one section of the hairband, so I wanted to kind of bring in that detail then with the wee pearls hand sewn on the side.
What I think is really lovely, you know when you pick black currants, you get that lovely little green sprig. You kind of created that look with the embroidery thread. So I'm going to move on briefly now to see how James is getting on with his amazing, what looks like an award that would not look out of place at Buckingham Palace. James, you've really given the kilt pin something that is absolutely beautiful. That is gorgeous. So you've got shape, you've got balance, you've got form, you've got interest, you've got detail. That also would not look out of place on the side of a beret. A black beret, that would look really, really good. I think that's absolutely stunning. And I think I'm really looking forward to you actually placing that on you to wear. Well, that would be lovely for that's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
Matches.
Yeah, beautiful. With your Budapest jumper, absolutely gorgeous. And that is looking fantastic. We're just kind of almost winding up now a little bit. So I'm just taking a look at, oh, this is looking beautiful. We've got a very fine stitcher going on here, and you've actually completed the brief perfectly. You said you were going to make a kind of choker, but what we'd love to do is maybe when you've done your last couple of stitches, we will show that to the camera, and then perhaps at the end of the show we'll actually try that on you. Definitely brung on the bling. Got a beautiful showcase brooch, come headpiece, come, you could wear that, imagine that on a denim shirt with the shirt done up and closed. To me, that is male, female, a male or a man or a woman could wear that. Also, it would look quite good on the shoulder here. And that is absolutely gorgeous. The humble headband, which was stuck in the 80s, you've given it a bit of revival. That is absolutely stunning. That's gorgeous. Really, really love that. Aoifhe, that is really beautiful. That's gorgeous. This headpiece definitely has brought the bling to Belfast. And what I have here on my left is the beautiful jet beads that have been turned into a fabulous choker. You have done brilliantly, and what we decided was to keep the choker long so that you could have it as a choker height or slightly lower, or even as a pendant. Perhaps we could just hold it up so everybody can have a look, and perhaps you could hold it up just to your... That is absolutely beautiful. That's gorgeous. A little tip is what you could do is have a little pincushion. If you have all your threads strung up in advance, if you're doing jewellery making or something like this, it just saves you that time, because once you're on a roll doing something like this, it's really hard to stop, isn't it? I'm really sorry that we're almost running out of time, but I want you to carry on with that, and I would really love to see the photographs of the finished piece. I'd like to thank James, Aoifhe and Val for coming along to A Table for Four, where we really have brought on the bling. I'd love to thank our lovely audience for taking part, coming and asking some lovely questions, and I hope we've inspired you, and we hope we've inspired the audience at home. Cheerio for now from A Table for Four. Thank you so much.